Man, I'm telling y'all, I'm gonna miss every single one of you. I mean, it wasn't all bad, right? At least you got Baby Yoda, right? 2020!
Hey.
What's up, man? 2020. Good to see you, pal. Have you lost weight? You look great, by the way. Just a couple of tips. In the spring, they're gonna release a documentary called Tiger King. Just number one, they're gonna hate it at first, but then everyone's gonna love it, okay? And by the way, BT Dub, she did it.
Get out.
Okay. Oh, by the way, the movie Cats, biggest apologies, okay? I really apologize. I'm sorry, okay.
Is that fire? Oh, he's lighting a candle, everyone. What are you doing? Come on, Mike. Don't. Are you listening? I said don't. Whew. I thought there was about to be another.
It's Corona time.
What is that?
Hey, it's Corona time right now.
What's Corona time?
It's Corona
What's
time.
Corona? Man, that's it, man. I'm gonna go attend a large social gathering, dude. Please no. I wanna go to Florida. That's it, I'm going anyway.
Large social gatherings? That means we could still meet, right? Of course. That's great. Online. What? We don't know how to do that. Not my job, not my prob.
Well, at least I can still graduate. Oh man, money!
We're gonna be rich! Why are they laughing? Don't worry about it. What are you doing?
Oh, me? I'm just planning my vacation for down the Keys this weekend. But now I gotta reserve my week at Disney. Look at this. Oh! Hey, how you doing? We got some unexpected but unwanted surprises for 2020.
Yeah.
All right, sign there. Guys got a party going on?
Something like that.
All right, take it easy.
What's that? Oh, this? Just something I got for you guys. What's in the box? What's in the box? Please no. Not the Olympics. Yes!
Oh, come on!
Woo-hoo!
Are you...
Come on, please stop! I thought it was gonna get worse. Oh, come on!
Corona time. Hey, it's Corona time right now.
Oh, man. Money!
We're gonna be rich! Woo!
You're too much. You're too...
No. Wealth.
Poverty.
We control everything.
Yes, we do.
Good luck pooping. Because of the
Toilet paper.
Yes.
Lord, I just pray that you'd be with this moment of worship and that it would speak to people's heart and help us to remember that who you are for us and with us. We love you. Take these hands. I know they're empty, but with you they can be used for beauty and your perfect plan. All I am is yours. Take these feet. I know they stumble, but you use the weak. You use the humble, so please use me. All I am is yours. I give take this heart, set it on fire, shining in the dark. I want to tell the world of who you are. All I am is yours. I give you all my life. I'm letting it go, a living sacrifice. No longer my own. All I am is yours. All I am is yours. I give you everything. To you I belong. Every beat of my heart, the breath in my lungs. All I am is yours. All I am is yours. I lift my hands up, God, I surrender all that I am for your glory, your honor, your fame. I lift my hands up, God, I surrender to you. I give you all my life, I'm letting it go, a living sacrifice, no longer my own. All I am is yours. All I am is yours. I give you everything. To you I belong. Every beat of my heart, the breath in my lungs. All I am is yours. All I am is yours.
Hey guys, thanks for watching tonight. We have another special guest that you may know, Charlotte, our cafe manager. So we are glad to have you today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, and so Charlotte, you've been hanging out with us for a few months at the Grove, and with COVID and stuff, we haven't seen you in a while, but we want to get to know you a little bit better. So tell us about yourself.
Okay, so I have been going to the church since early September. Grew up in church and kind of just left for a little while, came back. Yeah, I like to read. I love spending time with my family. I grew up in Marion. I grew up in the country and in the city. So my mom lived in on the western side of Marion, and then my dad lived closer to the Pleasant area and out Newman's Cardington Road, that area. So yeah, I grew up split between the two households. But I love to play games. I am a huge gaming nerd, and reading has always been something that I do pretty well on my own. If I'm going out with people, I love to go swimming, just, going to the beach every day and just I love the waves. Yeah, I would say reading's definitely my most favorite.
And we have to ask, this is an origin story. So we've got like a superhero theme going. Superheroes, any favorite,
Mm-hmm.
any ones that you can't stand?
No, there's none that I can't stand, but my favorite, probably Iron Man, because I really like that he created his own superpower.
Yeah.
He really built himself from the ground up. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Describe maybe how you came to Jesus, your salvation story.
Okay. So I kind of grew up in the church, but not really. Both of my parents, they believed in Jesus. They believed in God, but my mom never went to church. And so a couple times we would, Easter, every once in a while. My dad, it was a little different. So he definitely believed in God, but we didn't start going to church until I was about 10. And even then, split parent household, and we only went every 2 weeks or so. And so once I hit teenagerhood, I kind of just fell off because it was never something that he pushed on us as hard as he probably wanted to. So we would go Father's Day for him or Easter up until he passed away. So when he passed away, I really kind of lost faith at that point and had to go and explore it on my own. So I actually explored other faiths as well, kind of looked into like Buddhism and Hinduism, just kind of wanted to understand, because for me, knowledge is power. And, to understand all people kind of helps you understand, yourself a little bit more. So I went and did that for a long time until I really felt lost. And I felt like there was a strong pull towards something, but I didn't know what it was. And I kind of fumbled around for a while. I didn't know like what I wanted out of my life. I didn't know what I wanted out of my career. I didn't know what I needed from people. And so about probably a year ago at this point, I just kind of felt like God was pulling me back to church. And so I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to start. I didn't know, kind of at that point, I no one in my life really was going to church. I didn't have any connections. So around August or so, that's when everything really started moving. My aunt came back into town. She lives in Arkansas. And so we had probably about a 7, 8, 9 hour conversation about Jesus and every piece of it. And she answered all my questions. And I was like, so how do I start? Like, what do I do? And she's like, just go to church. And I was like, okay. I mean, I guess that's the easy way to put it, just go. And so at the time I was working at Barry's. So I talked to my boss because I really liked Steve. He came in and I didn't know at the time he was a pastor. And she was like, yeah, he's a pastor. And I was like, ooh, I want to go wherever he's a pastor at. So I kind of just dove straight in and I started, reading the Bible pretty hardcore. I tried to go like very beginning into like, starting in the Old Testament. And then now I jumped to the New Testament because I like the Jesus stories more, but I'll go back. And so, yeah, it was kind of an all-in type thing for me. But at the same time, now I'm finding that I kind of cut out some people from my life that I think I can help. And so, yeah, that's where I am with my salvation now.
Awesome. Yeah. One cool thing about you too is that, when this happened and you started coming back to church, you didn't just like start coming back to church and that, on Sundays, like you wanted to jump in and you wanted to start.
I did.
Which really is really cool. There's a lot of people who have been going to church a lot longer than you have and have faith a lot longer than you have. And they're not doing anything, they're just coming to church and going through the motions. So that's really cool. That speaks to kind of your heart and how you kind of want to serve people, which is awesome.
Right.
Describe some life moments where your faith was challenged. You talked a little bit about some stuff with your dad, but if there's anything else, if you want to elaborate on that, just some moments where you think your faith was challenged.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think as a child, you kind of, going to the whole dad thing, but when you're a child, you kind of rest your faith on somebody sometimes, whether it be a grandparent or, your dad, your mom. And so for me, religion was my dad, and I never really understood it any deeper. So that definitely challenged me. And then from there, you kind of spiral. So I kind of fell into some bad ways and got in with some bad people. And, you start doing things. And then once you kind of fall into like a bad mindset and a bad spiritual set, at that point, you feel like you don't belong. You feel like even if you wanted to go back to church, you shouldn't, because you don't want to bring anybody else down by your negative experience. So honestly, once everything happened with my dad and once I stopped going to church, it just piles on you. And it's not until that I came back to church, that everything started, honestly, things started breaking, which sounds crazy, but it's like, I remember Steve talking about it, and he was like, you know, what happens when you come back to church is your foundation has to break, because it's not built steady. It's built on lies, or it's not stable. So when you come back, it all gets torn down, and then from there you can build it back up. Everything was tough during the times of before I came back to church.
Yeah, I love how you said that, you know, you kind of have to be broken before you can, you know, before you can get better. You know, sometimes has to get worse before it gets better. And the cool thing is, Jesus loves you while, you know, in the mess. He doesn't wait for you to clean it all up and then say, all right, now you can come with me. He says, follow me, we'll take care of the mess together, which is awesome. I guess on the other side of that, maybe describe some moments, or a moment or two where your faith was strengthened.
Oh gosh, it felt like it was just like one thing after another. Cause like while my foundation was breaking, it was healing itself. And it was, I just let it go. Like, I just was like, all right, Jesus, you literally take the wheel, do whatever you have to do, and I'll just follow. So I came back to church, and when I went to church, my car broke down. And at the time I really wanted a bike. So I just went and I bought a bike, and I was like, okay, you know what? I don't have a car. My transmission went out. So there was no fixing it. And so, I mean, it was an older car. You don't want to go through that. But anyway, so I was like, you know what? I'll just ride my bike everywhere. It works. And I did that for about 2 months. And then I was like, okay, my credit's good. I'm just going to go. I think it's time to buy a car. So something that scared me my whole life, but I went, bought a car. And then I found out I was really sick. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. I had a cyst actually on the size of my ovary, the size of an eggplant. And I was like, okay, all right. Yep. Well, this is just something that I have to deal with, because so this is something that would have just shook me in my tracks, and I would have hid and not done anything about it before. And God has told me about this so that I can take care of it. So around November, I had pretty major surgery, and got it all out, no cancer, nothing. And I was just like, okay, I've been blessed. And from there, I kind of started anew, because at that time, I was actually already working on going on the mission trip to Belize. And I was like, okay, well, this is perfect timing, because I had surgery in November. Healing only takes about, takes about 3 weeks to get back to normal, 4 weeks to be completely, back to where you need to be. So by that time, I have 2 more months to go to Belize. And actually, another good thing is when I was raising the money to go to Belize, I had reached out, because I've always been prideful. I've always not wanted to ask anybody for help for anything. And so God told me, he said, you know what? Don't be afraid. If no one gives you anything, at least you tried. And honestly, I have the means to do it on my own. It was just going to take a lot longer. So I put it out, and my aunt reached out to me after about a month, and she was like, Charlotte, I want to fund your trip to go to Belize. And I was like, no, that's a lot of money. And she was like, no, honestly. And so she came up, and she just handed me an envelope full of money, and she was like, all right, here you go. And I was like, wow. Like, it's just crazy. You just, God really is there, and you just have to take the first steps, because he's not telling you to do something for no reason.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Belize, I'm sure that was a really amazing, strengthening trip too, as far as your faith goes.
For sure. The whole thing, it's just like when you're in that world, it's not even, you don't even think about it. It's just God. It's everything's God. Everything you're doing is God. Everything, you wake up, you're sore. You go to bed, you're sore, but at the same time, you don't feel it. Like you're just doing it for him. And it feels so amazing.
Okay. So if you could go back to your teenage self and tell them one thing, what's one thing you wish you could tell your teenage self?
right? This is one I actually had to think about, because I'm like, what would you tell yourself, like, oh no. So I wrote it down. I said, life can move fast, so don't be afraid to slow down when you make a decision. And I think that kind of sums up me, because I've always been a jump 2 feet in, but it's okay to go with your instincts, but if your instincts don't feel right, slow down, think about it. Because they're there for a reason. And more often than not, it's God telling you, hey, something's not right. You may not know what it is yet, but you'll see it eventually. And sometimes if you jump 2 feet in and it doesn't feel right, then yeah, at that point you can't do anything to fix it.
Yeah, that's good advice. Especially when it seems like, a lot of students they jump from one thing to another, and their life's so crazy, and things are, they feel like they don't have time to do anything. And it's okay to, like, hey, you can slow down, and you can stop, you can think a little bit about some things. And
Absolutely.
that's good advice for people watching, for sure. So
I guess for me, like, the moral of my story is, don't, if you do fumble, pick yourself back up, reach out to people. And luckily, a lot of the kids have people in faith who they can reach out to, like you. They can reach out to me, they can reach out to any of the leaders and just talk. Don't be ashamed if you make a mistake, because we're not perfect people, and God accepts that. Jesus, that's why he was here. So, and yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing.
All the different stories that we're hearing have, everybody comes from a different place, and so it's really cool that there's people like you watching. There are people like you whose faith has been so rooted in, their parents, or so rooted in somebody else that, that maybe it's time for them to own their faith a little more. It's time for them to have it for themselves. So maybe for those of you who are watching, can use Charlotte's story and say, like, okay, is there something inside of me, or is there maybe it's am I taking this seriously enough right now? Do I need to do I need to do some inward searching, and am I in this just because my mom tells me to go, or am I in this because I want Jesus more than anything? So that's a really cool how I think your story kind of points to that, and that's going to be great for you guys watching to just kind of think about. So Charlotte, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for hanging out and sharing a little bit of your story, and even though you're on vacation, so that's awesome.
Right. Hey, it was worth it for sure. Thanks for having me. I'm glad that I could have this time to just talk to people, because sometimes it's a little harder in the group setting to be able to have this in depth of a sharing. So yeah.
So yeah, again, Charlotte, thanks for hanging out with us, and for those of you watching, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.